She was only 2 months pregnant but was already about to give birth. Looking at Jack, who seemed no different from a full-term baby, even the experienced doctor found it hard to believe. To make sure this baby was healthy, the hospital conducted a comprehensive examination on Jack. The results showed he was very healthy. The only problem was that his growth rate was 4 times that of an average person, and his cell division rate also far exceeded that of ordinary people, which was the reason for his premature birth. 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. Jack, who was only 10 years old, even looked older than his father. However, despite Jack's middle-aged appearance, his mind was still that of a little child. He would cry when he fell, throw tantrums when he was angry, and when he was scared of the dark at night, he would hold his stuffed toy and go to his parents' room, pitifully asking to sleep with them. Although their son looked older than them, Jack was still their precious baby in their hearts. To prevent Jack from being bullied by children of the same age, his parents hired the best tutor, Lawrence, to let Jack study at home. Even though Lawrence took care of Jack very well and played with him like a child, every time Jack saw other kids playing downstairs, he couldn't help but feel sad and envious. Lawrence noticed Jack's longing for the outside world and believed it was time for him to step outside. However, his mother didn't want him to endure the strange looks from others. But Lawrence said,
"Look at his eyes when he sees other children. His life moves faster than ours, and he wants to lead a full life, and I don't think you ought to let it pass him by. It's not fair."
Jack's mother realized that compared to worrying about Jack being ridiculed by the other children, she was more afraid that Jack would not be able to have the childhood he desired. So, with a heavy heart, she reluctantly decided to send Jack to school. At the thought of starting elementary school, Jack excitedly got up early in the morning and prepared himself. This was his first time living out of his parents' sight. His concerned parents personally escorted him to the classroom door. The students in the classroom had heard that a special classmate was coming and were all very excited to see him. However, even though they were mentally prepared, when this big guy appeared, it still shocked the classmates immensely.
Whoa, no way! Jeez, he looks like my dad.
Although the teacher was also very surprised at first sight of Jack, she tried her best to warmly introduce this new student to help the other students accept him more quickly. Amid the strange looks from his classmates, Jack timidly walked to the last row. But the elementary school desk was too small for him. He was sweating profusely but did not dare to tell the teacher, only trying to force his body in. However, when he finally squeezed into the chair and reached for his backpack, he and the desk tipped over to the ground. Amid the laughter of his classmates, the teacher had to help him switch to a larger desk and chair set.
Jack!
As expected, the huge difference between Jack and his peers not only attracted ridicule but also led to him being isolated by his classmates. During the break, students from the whole school avoided him as if he were a monster, and only 2 brave girls dared to approach him, but only to bully him. Just as he felt sad about being teased, a basketball rolled to his side. He kindly picked it up for his classmates, but they disdainfully said he had dirted their basketball.
Wait! I'm not touching that thing. It's been contaminated now that he's touched it. Yeah!
The rejection from his classmates made Jack very upset. When he got home, his father asked him if he had encountered any trouble at school. Although Jack said nothing, he hid in a cardboard box and refused to come out. Even his mother offering his favorite chocolate cake couldn't persuade him. This made his mother even more worried that he wouldn't be able to adapt to school life. However, instead of intervening, his parents chose to give him space to handle things independently. Even though he didn't fit in with his classmates, Jack still went to school every day. But during breaks, with no one to play with, he could only stay alone in a tin bucket eating candy. It was at this time that Jack's predicament was noticed by his caring teacher. The teacher took the initiative to come over and say hello to him and struck up a conversation under the pretext of wanting some candy.
Jack, if anybody bothers you, you just come and tell me, okay?
The teacher's care made Jack feel very warm, and he also noticed that she loved red gummy candies. Soon, a basketball game was about to change his situation in the school. The older students wanted to take over the basketball court that Jack's classmates were using, so they proposed a match to decide who would get to use the court. To win the game, Lewis suggested that the tall Jack join their team. The other classmates were initially hesitant, but they agreed, knowing they needed to win. Jack lived up to their expectations, fully utilizing his height advantage and dominating the older students on the court. Seeing his classmates and the teacher cheering for him, he couldn't help but dance with joy on the court. His innocent and lively true personality also changed the inherent prejudices of the whole school's students towards him. As soon as school was over, Jack excitedly ran home. The moment he stepped through the door, he couldn't wait to throw off his backpack and grab the phone to share his joy of winning the game with his dad. Seeing that his son was finally accepted by his peers, his parents felt very proud of him. One day after school, Louis approached Jack again for help. It turned out that he hadn't done his homework since 3rd grade and was required by the principal to have a meeting with his parents. So, Louis wanted Jack to pretend to be the principal and say a few good words for him in front of his mother. Jack was visibly reluctant. After all, he was just a 10-year-old kid. How could he lie to a parent like that? Before he could fully refuse, Louis's mom had already arrived at the school. Jack had no choice but to grit his teeth and imitate an adult's tone to praise Louis. Louis's mom was delighted by the flattery.
Oh, got a problem?
It's bad for you.
Since when is being bad? Bad.
Oh, no.
Louis quickly came over to defuse the situation. If this continued, Jack would end up being his dad. However, Louis's mother still left her contact information for Jack, hoping he would reach out to her when he had time. After she left, both boys let out a sigh of relief. Pretending to be an adult was really not easy. Just like that, Louis and Jack became friends. The next day, Louis came to find Jack. Jack's mother answered the door, wearing a full suit of armor. Although Louis was a bit surprised that Jack's mom was different from the serious adults he usually encountered, he politely said that he wanted to invite Jack to his house for a sleepover.
Well, I can check. We kind of had some other plans, you know. Hey, Jack!
Hi, Mom.
See ya!
For all these years, she had been by Jack's side, inseparable. Now, with Jack suddenly having a friend, she felt a bit out of sorts. Jack and Louis rode their bikes freely along the tree-lined avenue. Instead of taking Jack to his house, Louis led him to their secret base, a treehouse shared with other kids. Inside, they talked about everything and played various pranks. Jack even let out several foul farts into a tin can, then lit them with a match. Although Jack was gradually becoming closer to them, fully joining their group required a special challenge. They mixed spaghetti with tomato sauce and sardines together into a terrifying dish. Despite feeling nauseated, Jack bravely grabbed a handful and stuffed it into his mouth to show his bravery. His friends were disgusted yet thoroughly impressed by Jack. From then on, Jack became the king of the kids. Even when classmates took photos, they liked to stand next to him. On Halloween, he and his friends dressed up as various characters for the parade. Moreover, Jack invited his home tutor, Lawrence, to their secret base to bond with the children. Lawrence grabbed a handful of upgraded dark cuisine to join in with the kids.
I love you, man.
The sound of joyful laughter echoed through the skies. However, with the addition of 2 adults, the little wooden cabin became shaky and on the verge of collapse. In class, the teacher assigned an essay with the theme about what they want to do when they grow up. A topic that would make ordinary kids extremely excited made Jack feel incredibly sad. A classmate wrote in her essay that she hoped to get married at the age of 28. Upon hearing this, Jack, with his clumsy handwriting, wrote down 28 times 4 equals 112. Living life 4 times faster than others meant that he would not live to be 28. Jack felt an immense melancholy. The experiences of college, career, and love that others had the chance to enjoy were dreams that were unattainable to him. So, one day, he mustered up the courage to do a thing he wanted to do a long time ago. He remembered that his teacher loved red gummy bears, so he collected a whole bag of red candies. Then he confessed to his teacher and asked her to a ball. Naively, he thought that the teacher, who looked similar in age to him and was kind and friendly, would be a suitable dating partner. He did not want to die without having experienced love. But in the teacher's eyes, Jack was still just a 10-year-old child, and she could only gently refuse him. However, Jack didn't want to give up easily.
Please.
No. I'm sorry, honey. It just wouldn't be right.
At that moment, Jack was utterly heartbroken. He ran out of the classroom crying. However, as he was going down the stairs, a sharp pain suddenly struck his chest, and he fell heavily on the stairs. After Jack was taken to the hospital, the doctors told them that due to his rapid growth, 10-year-old Jack had developed arteriosclerosis. As a result, He was no longer suitable for strenuous exercise and should not experience extreme emotional fluctuations. While reading at night, Jack noticed a butterfly that had landed by the window. He carefully held the butterfly in his hands, trying to make it fly again. But the butterfly only struggled weakly a few times before dying in his palm. He had witnessed the transformation of a butterfly from a cocoon, and now he had to witness the end of its life. The fragility of life resonated with him deeply. Concerned about Jack's health, his mother decided to prohibit him from going to school from that day on, to prevent his fragile body from being hurt by the outside world. This decision shattered Jack instantly. He didn't want to lose the friends he had finally made, nor the happiness he had finally felt. He ran out crying, begging his father to let him go to school. However, as guardians of their child, Jack's parents were unwilling to risk his health no matter what. Although his mother saw Jack's sadness with her own eyes and felt the pain in her heart, she still gritted her teeth and didn't give in. Since then, Jack, who could only study at home, became gloomy. After hearing his parents' conversation in the bedroom, Jack learned that his father had been persuading his mother to have a second child. He felt so sad that he silently took out the phone number that his good friend Lewis's mother had left for him. He planned to sneak out and, like an adult, drown his sorrows in a bar. No one noticed a 40-year-old man still wearing a pair of luminous shoes. Everything in the bar fascinated him. He casually grabbed some snacks from others and found a spot to enjoy them. The waiter came over and asked him what he wanted to drink. He hesitated for a long time and randomly chose a drink. But he, who had never drunk alcohol, sprayed the waiter in the face as soon as he took a sip. After waiting for a while, Lewis's mother finally appeared. She didn't know Jack's true identity and only thought that Jack was Lewis's principal. The two danced together on the dance floor. Jack's funny dance moves made Lewis's mother feel very interesting. Just as she wanted to go further, Jack finally realized that what he was doing was wrong. He hurriedly wanted to escape but accidentally bumped into a man. And Jack was beaten up and sent to the police station. Lewis's mother paid his bail and brought him back home, but Jack could no longer feel happy. He began to realize that even if he had an adult's body, he couldn't experience the happiness of an adult. Each stage of life has its unique experiences. He was destined not to be able to experience a complete life like ordinary people. From then on, Jack was always in a bad mood. His mother had to invite his tutor Lawrence back home again, but Jack lost interest in learning. He said that no matter how hard he tried to learn, he could not stop his life from passing by quickly, so knowledge that he wouldn't use was meaningless to him. Lawrence saw through Jack's thoughts. He hoped Jack would understand that children are easily satisfied and happy because of their exploration and discovery of the world. He wanted Jack to maintain a sense of curiosity and find achievement and pride in continuous learning. Since he knew life was so short, he should cherish every happy moment in his limited life. Seeing Jack still disheartened, Lawrence continued to encourage him.
You were a shooting star amongst ordinary stars. Have you ever seen a shooting star, Jack? Oh, it's wonderful. It passes quickly, but while it's here, it just lights up the whole sky. It's the most beautiful thing you'd ever want to see. So beautiful that the other stars stop and watch.
I just want to be a regular star.
Jack, you'll never be regular. You're spectacular.
Lawrence's words deeply touched Jack and also made his mother waver in her decision. Meanwhile, Jack's friend Lewis was also very worried about him. Every day, he would shout outside Jack's window, trying to persuade Jack's mother to let him come out to play. He even called all the classmates over. Every day after school, the students gathered outside Jack's window, playing basketball and jumping on trampolines. They expressed their longing for Jack in this way. Under their relentless bombardment, Jack's mother, who was on the verge of being driven crazy, finally compromised. In order for Jack to feel happy in his short life, she finally gave up her own persistence and agreed to let Jack return to school. Before Jack rushed to the classroom, Lewis was reading his essay. He said that when he grows up, he wants to be an adult like Jack. Because Jack has an adult's body but still maintains a child's innocence in his heart, he can always blend in with the children and spread joy to those around him, something that adults could not do. They only think about working and making money all day and then showing off in front of others. So in Lewis's heart, Jack is the perfect adult. At that moment, Jack happened to appear at the door, and all the classmates happily high-fived him, welcoming him back. When he returned to his seat, Lewis continued to read the ending of the essay.
More than anything, he knows how to be a great friend. More than most people look like adults. So I may not know what I want to be when I grow up. And right now I really don't care. But I do know who I want to be like. I want to be like the giant. The big guy. My best friend. Jack.
Lewis's heartfelt speech moved Jack to tears. 7 years passed in the blink of an eye. 17-year-old Jack had already become like a dying old man. Yet he had just graduated from middle school. His parents and sister came to his graduation ceremony to witness this important moment in his growth. As the representative of the outstanding graduates, the aged Jack slowly got up and walked to the podium. Despite his gray hair, he still maintained a very optimistic attitude. Amid the laughter of the audience, Jack began the most wonderful speech. He said that at the end of his life, he hoped to cherish all the good things and forget all the unhappiness. People always worry about what they will become in the future and are always worried about themselves 10 years later. But they gradually forget to feel the beauty of the present. They always think that life is endless and there is plenty of time, only to suddenly realize that, in the blink of an eye, much of it has already passed. As Jack's parents listened to his speech, tears filled their eyes. Jack was like a shining meteor. Even if his brilliance lasted only a moment, he aimed to make his life an eternal light. This is a 1996 film called Jack. It's hard to imagine that it was directed by Francis Coppola, the man who made The Godfather. The setting of the story is very interesting at the beginning, and the theme is quite profound, but as the story progresses it gradually loses its appeal, making it feel more like a Lifetime movie. Feel free to share your thoughts on this film in the comments. See you in the next movie.